I mean, I guess we can dive right into it, guys. So,
Let's do it.
Appreciate you guys, lending me your studio to accommodate the both of you because, I really enjoyed the podcast we had on your show.
Yeah, we loved having you on.
Oh, man, it was cool. I kind of got to let my hair down and, show the side of me that is like outside of real estate and some of my hobbies. And, I'm pretty competitive, and I kind of try and sometimes like shove that down on my show. But
talking about David Goggins and Cam
getting
Hanes,
after it,
jiu-jitsu.
I
love
a great episode though.
Oh, it was
Wasn't that
so
cool
fun.
that Cam Hanes shared?
Yeah, did I tell you
What?
that? When I posted, I
didn't
posted the
know.
reel or whatever, and I tagged Cam,
Our reel with
Your-
me in it?
the one on
you.
Instagram. He shared it, man.
Did he?
Yeah. So
That's cool.
That's-
So Cam Hanes might know a little bit who Chris Crowell is.
If he's ever
We'll
gonna
meet him
come
one
in
day.
Nova Scotia to buy a house, it'll be
Bro.
by,
We'll have to run a mountain and carry a rock up
well,
a
because
hill.
you hunt too, right?
Yeah.
He'd be your guy.
Yeah, I bow hunt too, so.
That guy is so impressive, man.
Yeah, I love Cam Hanes.
How old's he too? He's in his 50s, I think.
It'd
I
be like
don't-
late 40s.
Late 40s,
I know.
50s.
Rogan's like 55-ish. Sorry, Joe, if you're younger, but whatever. I think Cam is like close to 50, like late, like 47 at least, I'd say. But I mean, we could probably Google it and figure it out. But yeah, man, I've been following him for a long time since I remember the first time he come on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Joe was getting into hunting. He's just been on like, do you guys watch Meat Eater?
I've seen it, but not like too often. I'm not too big into hunting, but
You know what, man? My buddies that like weren't into hunting either all watched it.
Yeah.
Because it's like more. It's not like, oh, we're see this deer out by the clearing, and we're gonna take the shot. And then it's like boom, and the deer's dead and it's done, and it's
Yeah.
like that's your hunting show. This is more like Steve Rinell's a great storyteller, and he kind of really gives you kind of the ins and outs of the different types of hunting. He's not just doing deer or elk he's doing it all.
Okay.
And he's giving you kind of the story and the background behind it. And then he's an awesome chef too. So oftentimes when they do a successful harvest, the tail end part of the episode is
Eating it.
preparing the animal
Yeah.
and eating it. And it's like the camaraderie and the guys and the gals and together in the hunting cabin or outside, and it's just like that really cool community kind of feel, and that's the biggest attraction I think to the show for me is
Yeah.
you can see every part of it, and he explains the process, and like it's not just like taking an animal's life for the horns or the trophy or the picture that people
No.
some people are like, oh yeah, you just did it for the photo, but it's like for self-sustainability. It also is good for the ecosystem in terms of like managing numbers of species. And yeah, it's just like something that brings people together. So yeah, man, getting off on a tangent, but yeah. Steve Della, Cam Hanes, Dave Goggins, like all those guys are guys that I've been watching for a while. So to know that Cam shared that is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. And that's the reel that got like 600,000 views on TikTok and I think like 15,000 on YouTube. Like that definitely blew up.
Yeah, man. I mean, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, and it's like I was never a big content guy. Very, very self-critical, very competitive with myself and externally. So yeah, it took a lot to kind of put myself out there. And, I don't know if we caught it before we had to reset the batteries, but like I was watching Jess Nouvelle. I believe I'm pronouncing her name right. My buddy Mashandi Productions was telling me like, hey, you got to watch some of her stuff. She's killing it up here in Toronto, and she's almost more like coaching than selling real estate now because she's like, that's kind of where she wants to be.
Okay.
And she was like, listen, she was like, all you realtors out there that think your job is just selling homes, like you're wrong. I was like, you'll start performing better when you start realizing that you're actually a marketer. Like you're the entrepreneur, you got to do the marketing, you got to do the selling, you got to do the admin stuff. So like you're a marketer, you're not a realtor. Like selling the house is just part of the game. Like if you're not out there and people don't know what you do, like you're not going to produce, and you're going to probably end up giving up or failing or, getting discouraged. So that was a huge flip,
Flip the switch.
right? Flip the switch in
Yeah.
my mindset. And I was like, oh, all right. And that's about around the same time that I ran into you at the airport
Yeah.
and Dan. And I just like had my foot on the floor then. And I was like, all right, let's do this dance. And it's been a crazy kind of process because I always think like all my stuff sucks. Because like my buddy Mashanti will be like, hey, you got to tweak this, tweak that. So I'm always like, okay, well, he thinks it sucks too. So it must.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, I'm just like being nitpicky. But like, you know, like Kodi, you're telling me like how clean and how much you like the flow of the page. And like, I'm always like, man, it probably looks like crap. And like, you know, I was talking to another high producing realtor out in Vancouver. You know, he's a coach, and I was considering like hiring him to like revamp my whole kind of thing. And he kind of made a few comments that I could be like a bit better in terms of my branding and stuff. And then I was talking to Chandler. I was like, man, what do you think about real estate coaches? He's like, what do you want to know? And I was like, He's like, yeah. He's like, if that is like, you're probably not going to get the answer that you want. He's like, you're probably right. And he's like, listen, man. He's like, if you need a coach because you're not doing the stuff and you need the accountability, he's like, do it. He's like, it's worth it. But he's like, if you can just get yourself to do all the stuff, like you don't need to pay some guy $1,400 a month.
Yeah, and you're already a super disciplined individual too,
right?
So it's
well,
like,
that's what I got into. I was like, I don't fucking need to pay $1,400 a month.
But like, here's a question. You know, it would be like somebody who never worked out their entire life and then hiring a personal trainer.
Right.
Well, I know some people were like, oh, geez, personal trainer, like cookie cutter. We don't want that. However, it definitely starts you off on the right direction.
depends on the person.
100%.
Yeah, certain things work for different people, right? I think it's really cool that you recognize that about the marketing too, and like that's what's going to set you apart from like other like real estate agents, in my opinion. And like that's almost like good that you're just getting in now. Like it just you have that open mind to do that. It's not like you've been doing real estate 20 years, like, oh, I don't need it.
Yeah, but there are those realtors too, and they'll get drowned out in the noise.
That's the thing, right? That's what I'm saying is like that's your advantage.
Something else too that I noticed was somebody told me this, right? Like when you see a sign and there's an image of somebody, if that person's 30 or if that person's 50, you automatically think, or maybe like for me personally, that the 50-year-old's been doing it longer, more experienced. But that's not always the case, right?
Yeah. I definitely like, you know, we got a wide spread of like ages through RE/MAX. And, you know, I'm going to be 35.
Yeah.
So I've been in it going in my third year. I'm always transparent about that. I don't care if you don't want to hire me because I've been in it for almost, you know, going into 3 years. That's fine. Like I'm a very tenured sales professional. So, you know, it's to each their own. So I'm not going to kill myself to convince you. Like I got plenty of content out there you can look at and make your own opinion. And that's the other thing is the content, the podcast, like these chats, like kind of get people the opportunity to kind of vet me out before they even reach out. Because, like, let's be real, like, I want to work with people that are worth working with. And I want to, you know, treat people how they want to be treated, and I want to help them get to the next chapter in their life and elevate them to where they want to go. And if we're always, like, button heads.
Not good.
Like, it's just like, you know what? Like, not all the money that's on the table is for the taking. Like, some of it's just not worth the headache for me. So the objective in the content, it's not for me. I mean, yeah, cool. It's a great byproduct that I hopefully perform and sell houses. But like the content is much for yourselves, for other people to get the information they need. Because I know when I was a realtor, or not a realtor, buying my first home, like I relied heavily on I had no idea about anything. I didn't want to know about anything. I just wanted them to tell me exactly what to do, and that was it. And like, yeah, looking back, I was like, that probably wasn't great. Like I should have did more due diligence myself. So I find like I had a lot of questions I wanted to ask, but I was like, man, I don't know if I want to ask this guy all these questions. Like, it might be a pain in the ass, and maybe he'll get annoyed, and you know. And then it's like, you know, I was busy too, working full time for Unilever, 9 to 5. Like, you know, didn't want to drag out the process too long, and you know, I was always into stuff, so I didn't want to get caught too deep in like this whole like home process. So like the content for me, like I said, is very much for the viewers, for the people that are buying homes that maybe are afraid to ask questions. And you know, if you come across my page, maybe you find a few answers. That doesn't mean you use me, but at least you got the answers you were looking for. But at the end of the day, hopefully, if I can provide you that level of value up front for free, you don't have to pay me for it. That's the whole kicker. I'm putting that shit out there for free, and whatever you want. I'm putting myself in the position of whether you're buying or selling or real estate in Halifax in general, if there's a topic that needs to be put out there or people need to know about, like I'm going to put it out there. you're not going to have to wonder about it. Like, if it needs to be said, I'll put it out there. And that's kind of the whole objective. And it's been cool because, like, people comment and say they watch the stuff, and it's just, like, blows me away. Because I've, sometimes I put it, I was like, probably people think I'm just, like, this stupid, annoying realtor guy. And, here's another real estate video. So it's been a cool awakening from, like, the feedback, as well as the cool community that, I'm starting to see a bit of, and it kind of brought us together. So,
it's the biggest. It's like the people you meet doing podcasts. Even I know, like me and Kodi, since we started, it's awesome the amount of people you can meet. Like, it's just all these different people you never would have met if you didn't have the podcast.
Yeah, man.
And you make friends from that, have good relationships coming off of that, just because you find like-minded people.
And that's what life's all about, man. Like, I got tired of, like, begging people for their time.
Yeah.
Like, I want people that want my time and are excited about it.
Yeah.
So when you're like, yeah, come on our podcast, I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I want to line up with people that want my time. Like, if I'm always like, hey, do you want to do something? Like, I got to go do this with the missus, and like every weekend it's the same thing, and I'm not going to beg you.
You can only ask so many times, and then you're like, yeah,
right,
not worth it anymore.
So I'm going to focus on the people that want to do shit with me, my wife,
totally.
Our friends, and that's what I'm trying to do. But anyway, this isn't really supposed to be so much about me. It's supposed to be about you guys.
We're so
I like where that was going,
right?
Yeah. We honestly, I find we're all like-minded people. We're
I
just
know.
so used to getting like, our purpose on a podcast is to get other people talking, right? And it's just,
I just get fired up, right?
100%. It gets me excited.
I know, you feel it. That surge.
Surge energy.
I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
The surge. I feel the surge. I feel the tingle.
Yeah, no, it's always cool to see where like conversations go through the podcast too.
Absolutely.
I like to keep it like
organic.
Obviously, we have some questions that we like when we have guests on. I got some questions we'd like to ask or steer the conversation in certain ways, but I like to just let it flow.
Yeah, man. Same here. Like, I got this notepad, and that's why I was telling Kodi, I was like, we can use all this stuff. Like, I'll probably use all this stuff at the start.
Totally.
Like, it's good conversation. But for the sake of the viewers, like, you are Ryan Keeping.
Yep.
You're Kodi Leblanc. You guys are the Flip the Switch podcast.
Flip the Switch podcast. Yep.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about you guys, since this is kind of what it's supposed to be? Like, who's Ryan Keeping? Who's Kodi Leblanc? What, how did this come about?
Sure. Kodi, you want to start or?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to start I moved to Halifax would have been in 2021, was it? Yeah, 2021.
Yeah, I think so.
Transplant.
Yeah, 100%, right? I was like in July and just kind of having a hard time meeting people. Like, it was like COVID, busy with work, and it was just tough. So a buddy, we went out for pizza, and I seen these guys running, and somebody invited me to a run club, and long and behold, I met Ryan Keeping, and
no shit.
Yeah, I was reading, the whole story. I was reading David Goggins' "Can't Hurt Me," and I said David Goggins, and Ryan looked at me.
I'm getting out of my car. I'm like, Goggins.
And then we just started shooting the shit, and then long and behold, I was still kind of new to running, and Ryan just pushed me, and all of a sudden here we are on a podcast, and we're trying to spread a message of like getting like-minded people together, showing passion, and setting goals and accomplishing them.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, like, I like to say, man, my passion's passion. And I'm just passionate about pushing myself, and I always have been, like, passionate about limits. And
yeah, man.
So it's like, that's kind of where the running came from. It's not even so much running that I love or something. It's just, I like the aspect of running where, like, you run a 10K, then you run a 20, then you run a 30. It goes more and more and more. And then you can inspire other people. And it's just such a healthy thing to do, too, right? Like, physically, for your mental health, for everything.
Especially like with like knowing your boundaries or your limits. And you realize that there really are no limits.
No. Like, certain stuff takes time, obviously, right? Like, you got to put in a lot of effort to get somewhere, but your limits every day, they're increasing, especially when you're doing productive things. Like, your limit goes higher and higher and higher and higher. And eventually, man, it's incredible to see where you can go.
And such a cheesy little saying or quote, right? It's like, there's one thing that everybody has in common, and that's that there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you are the person who decides how you spend that time.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, I forget who I was talking to, but we were talking about the Halifax Hares. Like, I go pop into their trail running club every once in a while, and they're always like running these crazy distances on the weekends. And,
oh, it's awesome what they do.
Man, and somebody was like, man, like, where do you find the time to do all that? And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, they're running like marathons in like a few hours. I was like, what are you doing in 3.5, 4 hours?
Yeah, watching TV.
Right? Netflix?
Yeah, 1.5 kilometer inclines on ice and crazy weather conditions, mud.
So, like, that kind of stuff, it's like, well, if they're doing that,
Yeah.
and
Well,
I'm sitting on the couch.
when you really think about it, a lot of people waste so much time.
Oh, I even find myself like I'm addicted. It's a shame
Yeah.
how addicted I am to this thing because of this content creation.
I feel the same way, man. I'm always on my phone. Yeah.
and I notice it too. Is the worst part. And it's just
It's a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
right? You're trying to spread awareness or a
Yeah.
message to other people, but then you're also getting caught up in that.
yeah,
That's why I love running too, though, because it's like your escape, kind of.
it is.
For me, like it's a time when you can just shut the mind off and just get into this. Some people say the pain cave or whatever you want to say, but you can. That's where the real like results come from. And you can really like actually think about your thoughts, like and be one with them and figure out what you want to do.
Exactly. And something else too is like growing up, you were asking like, who's Kodi Leblanc, Ryan, and how'd you guys come up with Flip the Switch? But it's something I never really like shared, but I just thought about like I played hockey, right? And I just remember like one summer I kind of stopped training. I showed up to training camp out of shape, expecting to make, major hockey team, and it didn't work out, and I just kind of gave up on that dream. And now I use that as fuel. Like, what if I would have put in that extra effort? Like, you know what I mean? So obviously everything happens for a reason, but it really took meeting Ryan to say, listen, Kodi, like, let's buckle down, set some goals, and see what you can accomplish.
Yeah, and that's like I kind of like to tell people too. Like the best way to describe me, I guess, would be like a mental toughness coach just in the stuff I put out. So when you're looking at my running content or something, I'm not going to tell you this is your running form or this is this or this is a meal plan. I'm just going to be the guy that says anything's possible and we're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And that message isn't for everyone, but I find like in finding Kodi, like we've been able to increase each other's value so much just from pushing and figuring out that like a lot of the limits, it's just all in your mind, man. And once you can become mentally tough, and the only way to become mentally tough is do hard things. That's it. If you don't do hard things, you'll never be mentally tough. So it's just, that's where like the running or the lifting weights or doing this or doing that or pushing yourself like that builds the mental toughness. And that's what I'm all about.
And something I want to say is like to all the viewers listening, I challenge you, like whenever you listen to this, take 15 minutes and do something tough, whether that's 10 push-ups, 10 squats,
Anything.
10 jumping jacks. Open a book, read the first chapter, just do something you normally don't do and try to get out of that mundane repetitiveness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's like kind of reminds me like talking about doing hard shit. And anyway, it just brings me back to like when we first met and we did that first show here. And you're like, hey, do you want to run after?
Yeah, I want to run 10K.
And I was like, fuck. And I was like, yeah, sure. How far? And you're like, oh, maybe 10. I was like, I could already do like 12, almost 13. I was like, well, why don't we do 15? And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, that's going to be my longest distance. And like we did that. And man, by the end of it, I was hurting. Like I was falling behind. Like I won't lie. But like when we were at like the very end of Dartmouth and I was looking back across the harbor and seeing like the bridge we crossed,
That's where
we were.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. And then I was just like, well, there's no way that I'm giving up with these two.
Yeah.
So I just like hammered it and made it to the end. And that was it. There was like no way around it. And then just like the next few weeks later, I ran a 5, a 10 or whatever, some short stuff I could get in, an 8 with the hairs. And then I didn't train jiu-jitsu, and like my wife can tell, like I'm annoyed that I didn't go because I couldn't. And she's like, all right, well, you got to go do something. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go run. And like I sat around and like, how David Goggins says, like, he'll sit around for like half an hour
Stare at his
and
shoes.
like bitch at his shoes. And I was kind of sitting at the island, same thing. And I was just like, holy jeez, I don't want to do this. And I hate it.
Yeah.
Caitlin, my wife, was like, Chris, you try and get me to run, but you can't even get yourself out the door to do it. She's like, how could you do stuff that you hate? And I was like, Caitlin, that's the point. That's the whole point. I love the result that it gives me.
You love it so much you hate it.
Right?
Yeah.
And man, so I finally get out the door and I'm like, all right, maybe I'll try and do that 20 because we were supposed to do the podcast last weekend.
We were going to do it the half.
Right? I was like, maybe I'll do the half.
He's like 20. I was like, we got to do 21.
Right.
Half marathon.
Yeah.
Have to.
Exactly. So I was like, reasonable, 100%. Like I make the joke I'm not a runner. I was like, I didn't even clue in. I was just like a round number. But anyway, I get in the groove and I'm like, man, I'm feeling pretty good. And I was like, look at my watch. I was like, man, I think I could maybe beat my 10K time. And I started like going after that, and I was like, whoa! You decided with yourself you're going to
Doing
do the longest run and or at least 15K.
Yeah.
So I got caught between like trying to beat my best 10K time and still do the distance that I negotiated with myself. So I had this like whole power struggle. But anyway, I missed it by a few seconds because I noticed too late. But man, I smashed that 15K, and if I didn't have somewhere to be, like I probably would have did the other 6.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing. Like that one time, it was like I was hurting pretty bad, and this time, like I was bottled water, sat in my sauna, showered, pretty well not fully recovered, but like not
way better than the first time.
Not even close to beat up like the first time. So it's like, yeah, you got to do hard stuff. Like, how can you appreciate anything if you're not doing hard stuff?
Yeah, you want to, like 100%. Even people talk about the winners here and shit, and I'm like, well, we wouldn't appreciate the summer if you didn't have the winter.
Right.
And it's like, if once you go and run 100K or do something crazy, right? Well, then you're actually going to really appreciate when you do something that's, 100K, not enjoyable to run, right? So when you go and do something else, you're going to be like, okay, fuck yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, man. I compare it to like my old boss. Love him. Rick. He used to always give me the gears. Like I'd take vacation to go hunting.
Yeah.
Like sit in the cold. He'd be like,
He's
man,
like, what are you doing? Go down and soak.
Yeah. He's like, you're taking time off your work, paid vacation to go hunting.
Yeah.
In the winter, in the cold. And I was like, yeah, man, it's like nothing I like more than sitting in a tree stand and like -10 waiting for a deer. Like it's so serene. And it hurts. It's cold. Like sitting still for that long, like you don't realize how cold is until you're not moving.
Oh, you freeze.
You
Yeah.
go to get up, you're all stiff.
You got to climb down the tree too. It's
Yeah.
like,
And you get all the gear.
yeah, all of it. And it's just like, but man, it just makes like, even if you don't harvest an animal, it's just like you're up there, you're there before the sun comes up, and you just watch it all happen. Like the sun comes up, and it's a beautiful thing.
Something I took from that story is like you didn't care. Like Rick's obviously an amazing person, but sometimes people are like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing it? And it's just like, because it makes me happy.
It is.
It doesn't matter
what
what
you
other
wanna
people
do.
think. It makes me happy. I want to do it.
Yeah,
And
another
that's-
thing.
I love that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I was just gonna say, like the Flip the Switch podcast. That's what we try to. That's a message we try to spread.
Absolutely.
Oh, just
man.
do you.
Just do you. If it makes you happy, do it. Like
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it too, and I found myself, oftentimes like in my life, like trying to cater to everybody. And I was talking with some folks, and they're like, well, what does it matter, like what the rest of the people think that aren't in line with what you're doing? It's like, why are you even catering or pandering to those people?
Yeah.
Like, focus on the people that want
Can't please everybody. It's
to
impossible.
be there with you and are, celebrating what you're doing or doing it with you. It's like, who cares what the rest of them think?
If you try to please everyone, you're going to please nobody. Because you're just going to be this wishy-washy, in the middle type. Like, you're better off to just embrace you, and you'll find that the people that are like you are going to love it.
Yeah, man.
And that's the best way to live, man. Like live to the fullest, the full capacity of whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, man. I don't really hear too many winners, whether it's in real estate, running, or life, talking shit about too many other people, what they're doing.
No.
what's the saying when it's like you'll never?
Goggins is like, you're never going to meet a hater doing better than you. He's like, it's impossible. It'll never
That's
happen.
it. That's
Which
the
is-
ticket right there.
Well, and the thing too is like a lot of these haters, like, once you become really good at something, you're never going to hate on seeing someone else that's really good because you know the struggle. You know the effort it took to get there. A lot of these haters have just never done anything hard, so they just don't have that appreciation of like, okay, if this guy wants to run 100K, that's fucking a lot of training, man. So it's like, that is impressive. Just to see someone that's elite at anything, no matter what it is, you're like, that took a lot of struggle.
100%. What is that? I just seen a video just to play on that. What did they say? If you do anything for 18 minutes a day
Yep.
for the entire year,
You're better than like
98% of the population.
It's like the guy talking about playing soccer with his kid or whatever, and he's like,
Jesse
his kid
Itzler?
goes and scores like 6 goals of the soccer game. Like, how'd your kid get so good? He's like, I just played with the soccer with him 10 minutes every day.
Right.
And he's like, all the other kids, they only play 1 practice a week, 1 game. He just gets that extra training, and he's better than everyone.
You know what I find? And it's like, it could be for soccer,
Yeah.
hockey, content creation. And I think it's even worse in like the YouTuber content creation, like kind of community. It's like, Or even like all I've noticed or heard about realtors that are, complaining about, paying for content production, because they're like, well, I got to pay you this. What am I getting out of it? There's too much like we need that instant gratification.
Yeah, you want it immediately.
I was like, listen, the guy that's winning didn't start winning.
No.
And he probably struggled for a while.
All the behind the scenes stuff no one sees.
Only the reels.
Yeah.
They only see the reels.
Yeah.
The good stuff.
They don't see all the effort that goes into anything. It's like YouTubers or something. Someone pops off, or someone does this, or a musician blows up or something. You're like, oh, you got there overnight.
Right? Didn't get just lucky.
You heard?
Some people,
Yeah.
listen, some people are.
Sure. But most, no. And it's like, yeah, you maybe heard of me and it seemed like it came all at once, but that was 10 years of suffering and struggle and figuring it out.
Like, man, like I have a ton of obviously jiu-jitsu examples. Well, I'm a second-degree purple belt. I've been training for almost 5 years. And like, I got the shit kicked out of me for the whole year and a half I was a white belt. I started being able to like handle people a bit in like blue belt, and like purple belt's like kind of where I started to like find my groove.
Yeah.
So like, and I train like 6 a.m. in the mornings because nobody needs a realtor at 6 a.m. Hopefully not. But so that's my time. It's very, like you say, running. Same thing. It's meditative. Like all I'm doing there is focusing on me, my team, and like learning jiu-jitsu. And oftentimes like some new guys will come, or maybe it's an older white belt, and sometimes a lot of us are very similar minded, and they're very hard on themselves, and like, we'll roll, and I'll roll with anyone. And oftentimes they'll be like, oh, sorry, like I didn't do this right, or, it wasn't very like challenging for you, or, oh, you subbed me so many times, like, blah, blah, like kind of embarrassed. I'm like, hey man, like, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
like,
I was that guy.
And the biggest thing too is like, congrats, you showed up.
right.
Yeah.
You said it. I was like, hey man,
You're here.
you're here. And I was like, the only way you don't improve is if you don't keep coming.
And you get better by rolling with someone who's good.
Exactly.
And I find that's honestly, like, we're all guilty of it. You were saying, like, you were sitting looking at your shoes for a half hour. You didn't want to do it, but guess what you did?
Yeah. 100%.
Were you angry with yourself when you were done that run?
No. I was angry with myself before I got, because I skipped jiu-jitsu, or I was forced to skip jiu-jitsu.
Did you feel bad after you were done your run?
No.
You never do.
And that's the thing, right? So it's like, whether it's running, whether it's reading a book, studying for like, a law degree or whatever, just hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, man, I think a lot of people could benefit. I mean, especially like, I'm sure you guys are no strangers to the amount of polarization there is out there. Like, I think like if all those people that are just like hating on everyone else just got out there and like did a little run or did a little workout and stopped focusing on all this crap, like I think we'd be all better off.
100%. I totally agree with that.
And a big lesson too, like what you were just saying, and I'm trying to implement, is like that 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. rule, right? That's you time. Don't look at your phone. Don't look at your work emails.
I don't.
Just that's you time. And we're all guilty of grabbing our phone and getting on like a scroll. And I'm not like, just make sure you at least get 15 or 20 minutes a day to yourself.
Yeah, man. Like, honestly, like, you want to know my routine? Whole week. I get up at 5 a.m., train jiu-jitsu at 6:15. We usually train till 7:30. I shower. I got 2 awesome dogs that I love. I drive home. First thing before I do any other work, I get changed into my walking clothes, and I walk the dogs to the lake and back. I come back. I'm already showered from jiu-jitsu, and unless I did a run or, exerted myself, I'm already ready to go. But nothing happens until that's over.
Yeah,
I don't answer your phone
routine.
call. I don't give a shit what you want. I don't care. You could be selling a $5 million property. I'm not answering your phone call till after 9.
And I find, like, for myself personally, like, I want to be there one day, and I'm getting close, and I'm progressively getting better. But it's really about a lot of people. For me personally, I find like I'm just not like a robot, but you're going through the same motions, right? And you get caught up doing that.
Well, it's familiar. You're used to being in that groove, and it's the same, and you're accustomed to it, and you can kind of meander through it kind of with your eyes closed. So when you got to throw something else in the mix, you kind of really got to jam it in there. And like you really just kind of got to, you got to just give it a go. And, you know, it's like anything. It's like jujitsu. Like every day you show up, every extra minute, hour, it's all going to pay out. So like maybe one day you're up at 6:45 and you know, maybe you do that for a week and then you're like, all right, then 15 minutes earlier next week and you're 6:30 and then you just like, you'll go and go and go until you get to the time that you want to be. But like I'm getting up to do stuff.
Yeah.
Like if I was getting up just to,
You have goals.
right?
That's what it
I don't have enough hours in the day. Man.
Yeah.
I do too much stuff. I do jujitsu. I try and run as much as I can. I try and hang out with my friends, walk the dogs, do stuff with my wife. I hunt, I fish, I golf. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's never ending.
And you do all of that because it makes you happy.
It makes me happy.
It doesn't make anybody else. It's you.
Right? 100%. I'm not doing anything for anybody else. I mean, my wife, my family, you know, friends, but like, you know, my stuff is for me.
Well, and
I'm not trying to.
It makes you a better person too.
100%.
When you do stuff like that, you become all around way better.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's my whole thing. It's like they're like, "Why do you do?" Like some of my friends, but well, man, you do so much stuff. Like, why are you doing it? I was like, I don't know, man. I just want to be ready for anything, and I just want to like sample everything.
Yeah.
What
What are you training for? Life.
Right?
That's what I'm training for.
You know, my father, like, you know, when we're going to university and all throughout life, like, he was a big advocate of, like, you know, if you're out somewhere, like, don't just, like, you know, stick your head in a hole. Like, go talk to people.
Yeah.
Go do stuff. Like, go have fun. Like, that's what life's about. Like,
Stand out.
Don't stay in your same little friend circle and
don't just
stay
blend
in your
in.
bubble. Like, it's, you know, that's like familiarity thing. Like, you got to go talk to people. And he's like, yeah, maybe somebody won't want to talk to you. Talk to the next person. Make new friends.
And then eventually you're comfortable doing anything. Once you've done enough stuff that's uncomfortable, there's nothing it's going to get thrown at you. You're going to be uncomfortable with. You're just like, oh, this is my element, man.
You think I thought I'd be doing this? I used to watch Joe Rogan and be like, man, it'd kind of be cool to like do something like that. But I always just like watched his show, and I had a conversation with like a buddy in the past. I was like, yeah, maybe I want to do like some kind of like the Halifax Network was an idea for like quite some time. And, you know, he wasn't like, I don't know. He's like an old school guy. And anyway, he's not really around anymore. But he was like, oh, yeah, well, you figure like by the time you put everything together, like, you know, probably people won't even be like seeing it. So he was like, yeah, there's no value. Like, he just didn't think there'd be any value. And it was just like, it was, it was kind of weird. So, like, to be sitting here today and having that mindset of somebody telling me, like, it'd be a waste of time or, you know, you're basically like my fear. It's like, oh, well, it's just like a stupid idea. To be producing content on Instagram to try and better myself in, you know, my industry and help people. As well as help promote other people's businesses. It's just because that's very much like the format of this podcast. It's like to make people aware of awesome people that are doing cool shit, services, products, you know, real estate advice. It's just been a really cool experience, and I would have never thought that today, April 15th, 2023, I'd be on someone's podcast or even hosting, you know, one of my own because, you know, the confidence just wasn't there.
Well, the biggest thing, once you start too, you're like, I wish I started earlier, man.
100%.
Always, you're like, I wish I'd started this a year ago. So it's like,
man.
as soon as you have the idea, you try it, man. You might as well. And then they say like, oh, what if no one watches? Whatever, I tried, man. I wanted to do it and I tried.
Does it excite you guys to think that, like, you know, next year we're going to look back and see our conversations and see where we were?
Yeah.
How
I
we
think
got
that's
there,
what excites me the most.
I agree.
Yeah. I think that's the most exciting part. And that's even just like you said, looking at my page and you know, sometimes I do look and very much like we're probably harder on ourselves than, you know, others are. And like even my guy that mentors me on my content, he's like, man, he's like, look at the stuff you started with and then look at where it is today.
Yeah.
And you just started mid-December. But you did what I told you. He's like, you posted a meaningful piece of content every day of the week.
Consistency.
Since 2022 in December. Mm-hmm. And he was like, think about what that's going to look like in another year, 6 months, 3, 2. Totally. You know, whatever.
Just snowball effect, bigger. I know we're talking about like you getting your YouTube bigger and stuff. And really it's just consistency. Post. And then you get that 100 subscribers and then you get the 200 and it keeps going faster and faster. And just more eyeballs gets on it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And like, you know, like I do, like, you know, you guys got an awesome studio here. Like I self-film all my stuff. Like you guys, you do a lot of the editing. Like I farm that out, but like everything's on me. Like I'm not making money doing this. Like I said, I'm doing it for the people.
But I mean, long term, you kind of are. Like you get a new client, right? So it's like when you think of the long-term goal, it's like, no, I'm not making money like monetizing it or currently, but who knows? Someone's going to watch this and then use you, and then another person, and then word of mouth. And
yeah, man.
So really, you are making money.
Sure. Yeah. It's a byproduct, like
Yeah.
you said. And it's, it's just like, I'm not looking for that instant gratification.
No, not instantly. No.
But I was one of those people. I was like, man, I made this cool piece of content. Where's all the views?
Why does
the
no one
messages,
care?
the
And it's like-
engagement? What's going on? I thought that's what this was all about. But then it was like, oh, you got to keep showing up.
Yeah, every day.
Every day. Not once, not twice, every day. And that's kind of like, that was the big flip the switch too. It was like, you just got to keep hammering it. Like there's no quit. Like when you quit, it's done. That's it.
Yeah, make sure that switch is always on. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man, absolutely. So for flip the switch, like what's some of some short and long-term goals that you guys have, for the podcast? Like, whether it's for the podcast, maybe some personal goals. I know you guys have been really enjoying, like I really enjoyed it, pushed me, like talking about doing hard stuff. Like it really pushed me to do it. You're bringing people out for runs. Like, what's the next thing? What do you guys got queued up?
Yeah, I mean, the long-term goal for me is I just love inspiring and motivating people. So like the more we can do that and just keep bringing cool people on, keep meeting like-minded people, and I mean, get as many people involved in running and fitness as I possibly can. And yeah, just keep growing it. And I mean, it's, I lost my train of thought there. There's something I was going to say.
It's all good.
What was I going to say?
You got some big goals though too, like
Oh
distance.
yeah, I want to talk about. So I had like kind of to bring on what I'm talking about, like motivating people and stuff. I had someone send me a DM probably, I think like a month ago, and they said that like basically they started watching the podcast, and they used to think like with running they compare themselves to other people and stuff. They started watching it, they realized it's like him versus him, and he ended up signing up for the Blue Nose half marathon. It's gonna be the longest run he's ever did. And what he said was like, he sent me a picture and he's like, thank you for the inspiration. And then it said like, on the half marathon sign up, it's like, what inspired you, or what motivated you, or what made you sign up or whatever. And he wrote Ryan Keeping.
How good did that feel?
And that, everything I'm doing is worth it. To see that, just to see that I'm able to help someone and push his life forward and have him come out of his comfort zone and do something he wasn't normally going to do. That's all this is about. And that's all Flip the Switch is about, is like flip the switch. And I just want to help people chase down their passions and do whatever they want to do, and just continue to spread the message. And I mean, eventually I'd love to kind of almost like train people for free and just find a way to kind of get by doing that is my goal, is like build a community of just like-minded people that are crushing it.
Yeah, man, I'm all in. I'll be there all day, crushing it with you guys.
And something else to that, like the message we really like to spread is that, like Ryan has, like, he's putting in 100 kilometers, he has a 100-mile race, so like he's kind of on one extreme. But then you have me too, like when I started, like, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers to 50 kilometers, like that growth just shows that, an average person who's training a few days a week, still working, you know what I mean, like is able to accomplish those goals. So it just kind of shows that there's like, you don't have to be an amazing athlete who devotes every day to that goal.
No, you definitely don't. And like, it's just show up every day, get better. And yeah, man, I used to say like kind of the name Flip the Switch kind of came from when I was running, and I would say like, I almost go like when David Goggins says he goes from like David Goggins to Goggins, and he goes into this new person, right? And I believe that can apply to anything, where like, you just got to say like, I'm a disciplined person now, or I do this, or this is the type of person I am. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't do that because I'm this way, because they label themselves, right?
Yeah.
You got to be like, well, I'm going to label myself a winner. I'm going to label myself successful. I'm going to label myself a disciplined person that gets up and does what he has to do and is proud of their like stuff they're doing. And you have to be your number one fan too. You have to be your biggest supporter, because no one
else is going to do it for you.
Yeah. Like obviously your friends, your family and stuff, they all want you to do good. They want you to do great, and they're going to support you, but no one's going to drag you out of bed and make you go for a run or make you do this or make you do that. So you have to realize like you are in control of you and what you do.
Yeah, man.
And like, you really have to push yourself and set yourself to a high standard, man.
Yeah, discipline beats talent. I think Jocko said that.
100%,
Yeah,
man. You see that all the time in sports, right? You get the guy that super natural talented or whatever, but never really struggled, never really did this, and they just don't pan out at the next level or something, right? And then you get the guy that grinded, the Tom Brady, who like didn't even start for his high school football team, and then went to college, didn't start, right? And then it's just the grind, and then they become the greatest of all time. They figure out that work ethic.
Man, that reminds me too. I'm referencing all these clips, but I'm like always deep in these motivational clips, man. And like Kobe Bryant and like Michael Jordan are probably like two of my all-time like favorite athletes, just from like that's how I play sports. Like I'm in there to win.
Yeah.
Like I don't give a shit about like we're going. And like I love the clip that it was another player. I wish I could remember his name. But he's talking about Kobe, and they were playing him the next day, and they were in the gym. He was in the gym practicing.
Oh, and he like purposely shows up.
And Kobe shows up. Or sorry, Kobe was already there.
Already there, yeah.
Buddy shows up, does his whole workout, still hears ding, ding, like the ball bouncing, like Kobe's still practicing. And they go play, and they win. And he was like, man, what were you doing in there so late? He's like, man, I heard you come in, and I just wanted you to know that I will always do more work than you.
Yeah, you're never going to outwork the guy.
Yeah, never. And it's like, you know, whether that's for my friends, my family, my clients, like, you know, some high-producing agents are probably like, who the fuck is this guy? But, like, I will outwork you.
Oh.
I'll do more for you if you're my people, my clients. I'll just do more. If you need me, I'm there. You call, I show up. There's no, like, if I'm able to help, I'll be there. And that's the support that I give my people.
Well, that's the thing you control. You always control the amount of effort you put in. There's lots of things in life you can't control, but you can control effort.
Yeah, man.
It's so important to just always give your fucking best.
Yeah. And yeah, you have to make a decision. It's only, you know what I mean?
I mean,
You got to make that decision.
we
Yes
got
or
one
no?
life.
Yeah. I always tell people my favorite thing's being alive, man.
Right.
I love it. I love every minute of it. Even the parts that aren't good, you got to love, man. You only get it one time, and like, just you see so many people kind of just floating through life, or complaining, or working a job they don't like, or always negative, and it's like, what are you doing, man?
Life's
like
too short
you're gonna
for
look
that
back and think, why did I wasted it, you know? And it's like a lot of people just go through their whole life and never really figure out like what they're passionate about or what they like. It's sad, honestly.
That's definitely like a fear of mine, and I always think like you can't enjoy the rainbow without rain, or you know, a flower can't bloom without rain.
Yeah.
So you just always have to remember that. But it would just be not finding what you're passionate about, or at least even trying to find out. Just getting by,
Yeah, man.
not doing anything.
It's like we only got one life. And I've been like telling my wife this the other day. I was like, man, we're running out of time. She was like, what do you mean? We got all kinds of time. I was like, no. We got to I got to step it up. Like, she's like, Chris, you're doing enough. Like, but like for me, it's not like it's.
But you have to have that attitude.
Right.
And that's the attitude winners have, man.
That's what we're trying to do.
You could be like, you're never going to be satisfied with what you get. You always want more. So you got to love the journey, and like you got to realize like you're always going to be chasing a better version, and just love the chase.
Yeah, man. That's it. That's the chase. It is the best part. Like even like when I was like in bodybuilding or powerlifting, like the meet or the show, like that was just like I wasn't even in. I was into the training.
Yeah.
I wanted to lift heavy shit up and put it down, and I wanted to like sculpt myself into like how I wanted to look or how strong I wanted to be, and it was just that was the grind that I enjoyed.
You set the goals, and then every day you just get
Right.
1% better.
Even the hard
every single
dieting.
day, show up, and yeah, you just continually get better and better and better. And then it's fun to look back and be like, fuck, man, look where I came from, and then look where I'm gonna go. That's
Yeah,
the
man.
biggest thing.
And like I make a joke, and like people call me like some like doomsday prepper or something, but like I tell Caitlin all the time, I was like, I just want to be ready for anything, like the outdoors, like hunting, bow hunting,
Yeah.
Shooting, hand-to-hand combat, like running. Like,
Yep.
like you're not gonna catch me slipping ever.
I also just want to set a good example for like kids coming up, man.
100%.
It's like who does like a young boy have to look up to right now?
His dad.
Yeah, his dad. And what happens if their dad
Is no longer in their life.
isn't in their life, or isn't a great role model or something, right? Like some kids at least need like this person they can watch and like use almost as like not a father figure, but like someone to show them like this is about setting goals and all these different parts of the life, and like how to live and how to set like good examples, right?
Yeah, man.
I'm so passionate about that, because it's like I found there's just a lot of negative influencers or YouTube or something. It's like, who are you looking up to? Jake Paul? It's like,
I know.
come on, man. They
Yeah.
need like that Goggins type person to show them about like really getting ahead and setting goals.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I just want to be mindful of everybody's time. But like one question that I often try and ask lately on the podcast, much because of the name, like the Halifax Network, and I know you mentioned that you're not from here, and I believe you're homegrown, right?
Tantallon. Yeah.
Tantallon, yeah. So HRM for sure. Like, for the viewers that are either maybe like thinking about moving to Halifax or even are from here, why Halifax? Like, what made you stay? What made you come? What do you love about the city?
Yeah, I mean, Halifax is a great place, man. Like, I just find I've traveled quite a bit, like Australia, Thailand, Europe, like through the States and stuff. And there's definitely something to be said about the people here and just the quality. Like, people are so nice here and they're mindful and they're thoughtful of stuff. It's not like a big city like a Toronto or something, right, where no one has the time of day for you. Here, it's really like community based. And I love that about it. And you even see that in like the different run clubs and stuff, or just different like social gatherings. It's really good community base here. I think that's probably my favorite part about here, man. It's just the people are just so down to earth and awesome, honestly.
Yeah, it's that real East Coast vibe.
100. Like everybody's like, when they're walking by, oh, pardon me, and hope all is well. How are you doing? And you probably don't get that in big cities.
Walking by someone, hey, how are you? And it's like, I know I lived in Toronto. I'd get in an elevator. Hey, how's it going, buddy? Just be like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
right.
Take his what?
Right.
Earpods out or something.
They're just living like the fast life. And I mean, I grew up in Moncton, so we'd come to Halifax like hockey tournaments or sport tournaments, and I never really got to travel, but there's beautiful sites within an hour drive. I love that. There's always a lot of like opportunity, or there's many restaurants, events, clubs. Like Kevin Hart's going to be here tomorrow night. Like,
yeah, man.
I guess he's going to Moncton, but it just seems that like they always have like good events going as well.
Yeah, and like Halifax, like, it's not a small city.
Not anymore.
It's not huge, but I mean, you still got like, it's a decent sized city. There's always stuff going on, and then, yeah, as Kodi was saying, like 20 minutes outside of the city, you got awesome trails and stuff, or awesome beaches, and it's just you get a good mix when you live here, right?
Yeah, it gets me when people are like, man, I'm so bored. There's nothing to do.
I hate if someone says they're bored. It's my least favorite thing to hear ever. I don't have time for that.
Yeah,
I don't have time to be
man.
bored, man.
Yeah, like, man, like we've traveled this province extensively. Like me and my wife have the Nova Scotia Waterfalls book. Some local guy, I forget, I should give him a shout out, but I forget his name. Maybe I'll do it in the post. But anyway, we have this book, and basically every summer we'll pick some waterfalls in Nova Scotia to hike to. And back when I was doing more like hobbyist photography, like I'd go and set up my camera, take like pictures in front of the waterfall, and do like that like smooth kind of like the water looks like it stopped, and I was super into that landscape stuff. And I mean, we were always doing that with the dogs. We go camping like all over the province, try and go a different place every time. And if it wasn't in Nova Scotia, it'd be like Fundy National Park, or we went to go some more Newfoundland, or the Highlands National Park out in Cape Breton, Cabot Trail. So like I don't know, like if you think that there's nothing to do in this province or this city, I mean, you might have to have a hard look at like what you're really doing with yourself.
Yeah, like with Flip the Switch too, like eventually, like I'd like to take it like to some bigger cities or get some bigger guests and stuff like that. But I always want to rep like Halifax, and it's big to like almost like, sure, you have to go somewhere maybe to get more noticed or something if you're trying to have your podcast grow or YouTube and stuff like that. But like almost get it noticed, but continue to put us on the map of like always constantly shouting out back home.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think that's something I definitely want to do.
Yeah, we need the recognition. We've been lagging behind, and now we're catching up. So
something else too I like was like the waterfront, for example, too. That's just a beautiful walk, like in the summer, in the winter, anytime. There's always
summers in Halifax are the best.
Patio season, bro.
Oh, and just like I said, there's always like those events going on, right? They'll have like concerts or gathering. Like the buskers come. They have
they do the free concerts too.
I was just gonna mention that.
Remember, I saw like Great Big Sea and like Classified and stuff. Like they're all free concerts in the summer. There's a lot of people there too.
Yeah.
Even from like museums to the Citadel Hill. What's that tour when you go in the water? The
Harbor Hop. Harbor Hop.
Amphibious vehicle.
Amphibious, yeah. And like from Peggy's Cove, but the biggest thing for me, I'd say, is like being from Moncton. Like Moncton has a lot going on. They're growing, but like that downtown scene, it's just like nothing's really like a walking distance. Right. It is, but there's not much like going on. But really, the downtown Halifax,
that's all
got more of a core.
It's all within what? Yeah.
It doesn't matter your age too, right? Like there's university students, or there's other stuff going on.
Oh, there's always something going on here.
Man, that's awesome. Well, guys, I think that it's a good place to kind of end it off.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I know you guys had a big day. You guys had a podcast guest and a run before I showed up.
We showed up and we're running down by the podcast studio.
Yeah, so that's cool. I'll be looking forward to watching that one, and we'll get a run in soon.
Half marathon.
Absolutely.
We got to do a half.
You let me know. I'll be there. You call, I show up, right?
All right, we'll do it in the next few weeks for sure.
Right. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks again for the studio.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to chopping this episode out and
100%.
getting it out there.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.